Have you ever wondered what it takes to start a barbecue catering side hustle? What are the tools you'd need? How would you get your first few customers? And how much should you expect to earn? Answers to all of these questions and more coming up. Hello and welcome to Practical Personal Finance, where you get the information you need to understand and succeed with money. Today we'll be covering the topic of starting your very own barbecue catering business, and I'll be joined by Austin Berry. Austin is the pitmaster for On the Ridge BBQ in Maysville, Kentucky. He's been a barbecue lover his entire life, and about 3 years ago, he started taking it a little more seriously. Austin has a real passion for learning about all the different styles of barbecue and using that knowledge to constantly improve his cooking. And now, without any further delay, here's my conversation with Austin Berry. Austin, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today and share your experiences with all of us. Why don't we start off with a little bit about the origins of your barbecue catering business? How did this all get started?
It got started for me because I enjoy eating barbecue. It is always been my favorite food, and I remember when me and my wife first got married. She enjoyed cooking, and I didn't, and so I figured if I was gonna cook with her, it had to be something I enjoyed. So we kind of started experimenting a little bit when we first got married with it, just so I could enjoy a hobby with her, something we could share. And so that's kind of how it got started in that way.
Awesome. And I know you have an interesting story about acquiring the equipment you needed when you were first starting out.
Yeah, so I had some smokers that I already had, some offset traditional offset smokers that I already had. But one day I was driving down a back road on a way to visit another church that I was going to do some work for, and I came across this smoker that this guy was selling, and so I decided to pull over. It was a big traditional catering style smoker, and I decided to pull over and see the price on it, and I realized he had it priced for way lower than it was actually worth. And so I called my wife immediately, and she said no. And then, like 6 months later, I saw it pop up on Facebook Marketplace. So I realized that he hadn't sold it yet. And so I messaged him and offered him way less than what he already had it at. And so I actually received it probably for about a fourth of what it was actually worth.
So, had you been cooking barbecue for a long time, or was this something relatively new for you?
Yeah, I've been cooking and experimenting on the side just for fun with my wife. Like I said, we've been married for 7 years, so I'd say I'd been doing it for about 5 years just for fun. But I got really serious about it a little over a year ago, and that was I got serious about it in the way that I needed a new hobby, and so I just kind of started every weekend making something new, and trying different recipes, trying different techniques, and that kind of thing. And then, and then in the way of that, people started not just me and my family eating my food, other people started eating the food, and so they thought it was good, and so that's kind of how I got into it.
What are some of the different types of customers you've served, and what are the different types of work you've done for those customers?
Yeah, the biggest thing that usually people ask for is I've done some stuff for like church events, like fundraisers, youth group here at the church I work for. They did a fundraiser by providing lunch, and people were able to buy the lunch. And so, in that way, I just charged a little bit more than what the price, my cost was for them. But I've done it for Christmas events, like people had Christmas dinners. I've done it for like a small wedding before. It's a wide variety of things. I've even done it for somebody that just wanted it. One thing I did that I thought was really cool is I just posted on Facebook and said, "All right, I'm making pulled pork this weekend. Order a pound. This is the price per pound. Put your orders in, and I'll deliver it to your house." And so that was another way I did it. And that was kind of cool. And that was probably the biggest reception to get my name kind of out there a little bit.
If I wanted to start a business like this, what are some of the tools that I would need? And is it possible to obtain those tools without spending a fortune?
tools wise, you definitely are going to need some type of pit. True barbecue is not just a gas grill. You know what I mean? There's pellet smokers, there's electric smokers and that kind of thing. When I start doing something, I want to do it all out. And so, I wanted to get a traditional, like a smoker that actually used wood, that you burned wood and the art of controlling your fire yourself. And so you're going to need firewood if you go that route. You're going to need different types of tools. You're going to need, gloves are important, especially when you're handling the fire and handling the foods. You're going to need a different type of gloves. Every time I cook, I use a shovel, I use an axe, and pans, like tons and tons of pans.
So obviously the food's important because that's what's going to make the customer happy when it's all said and done. So how did you go about gaining the skills needed to make some good barbecue?
Yeah, I learn everything through YouTube, and so I enjoy fishing as another hobby, and so I was watching some fishing YouTube videos one time, and they had a guest on it, and he was a he was a world champion barbecue, and I found out he had a YouTube channel, and so I ended up just diving in and watching a ton of his YouTube videos, and that actually made me way better. I was already doing it before I found his YouTube channel, but he watching his YouTube videos and getting other people that he collaborated with on YouTube actually helped me get even better.
If I wanted to learn some of this stuff, is that how you would recommend I do it as well? Following along with some creators on YouTube?
Yeah, that and I would say that, and don't be afraid to screw up. You know, you can go get cheap meat at the market. I wouldn't say get cheap meat and then expect it to turn out amazing, but you can go get cheap meat and you can practice with it. And if you can make good barbecue with cheap meat, you can make good barbecue with the good stuff too. You know what I mean? And so I think just practice, and don't be afraid to try it and then have to throw it away.
Next, let's talk about the process of getting this business off the ground. How did you go about getting your first few customers?
Yeah, the very first few customers actually were, I talked about earlier about how the youth group, they were actually my first customers. And so then my product was getting put in the hands of several people in our community, just for them providing a lunch. And so, people asked them, hey, where'd you get this pulled pork? That kind of thing. And so that was a big push. And then also through Facebook. And I don't have a Facebook page for the business, but I have my personal Facebook page. I just posted on there a lot if people needed something, that kind of thing. That's what I did for this year for Thanksgiving. I smoked turkeys, and I got 13 orders, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot of turkeys to cook for people on Thanksgiving Day, for me at least. And so that got the name out there quite a bit, and it led to a lot of people asking even about Christmas. And so, yeah.
What's been your best marketing strategy and marketing tool so far for reaching new customers? Has it been Facebook?
Yeah, for sure, Facebook. And because I've had people that I had for Thanksgiving when people received the turkeys, they posted pictures, and when they posted the pictures on their page, I got floods of messages saying, "Hey, I want a turkey," and I was like, "Yeah, it's too late for you." But it opened the door for Christmas, and that was so I got a whole nother group of customers through Christmas and that kind of thing.
What's been your strategy with pricing and deciding how much to charge?
Yeah, the first way I started out doing it, this was when I didn't know what the heck I was doing. We had a local barbecue restaurant in town who kind of did catering, and I kind of went and looked at their prices and decided I could do it for cheaper. And so I wanted to undersell them a little bit, if that makes sense. And so that's how I started out with pricing. But now, kind of the way I do it is depending if it's an event, I will price out based on per pound of meat that they want. And I have a kind of set price for that I know is worth my time, but also the cost, and make sure I make a profit off of it.
That's cool. I think it's really important as well that you're earning enough money to the point where you feel like it's worth your time.
Yeah, when I first started doing it, I was like, wait a second, I only made $100 for a whole weekend of cooking. I don't know if this is worth it anymore. And then I realized I'm charging way less than I actually should be. And so that kind of took trial and error and just doing it to realize, um, reap the reward for your time that you've had.
All that being said, how much can someone expect to earn with a side business like yours?
Yeah, it all depends on where you are. I would say first off, for me, the market I'm in, it's a local town, so and I've lived here most of my life, so most people know me. But I would say you can plan on making, just depending on what kind of event. But for a wedding, if you have a wedding of 100 people, you're probably going to be charging about $17 a plate, and so that's $1,700 right there off that 100 people. And so it probably will cost you $1,000 to cook it. You know what I mean? After the meat's done. So you can make $700 off that wedding. It just depends on what your meat supplier is too and where you live. Where I am, I'm lucky enough to be in a rural area. And so I know some local farmers that sometimes I can get it a little cheaper than local Sam's Club or Walmart or whatever.
And it's probably better quality stuff too.
Yeah, it is for sure. It's I've done an event before where I wasn't able to get enough briskets from the local store, and so I got some briskets from a farmer, and it was a night and day difference on his brisket compared to what I was getting from a local big box store kind of thing.
That's really cool. So anyone who's listening and is thinking about doing something like this, remember to take a look at some local suppliers and not just go directly to the big box stores.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last but not least, do you have any other advice for someone who might be interested in starting a barbecue catering business of their own?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to do it. I was for the longest time, like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I have a friend who does it as well, and in my opinion, he's way better than me at it. But he doesn't. He just does it for fun, and so I was always scared to do it because I was comparing myself to him and what he was able to do. But then he kind of said it to me. He said, cooking for 10 people at my house is completely different than when you're cooking for 100 people at a wedding. And so, you know, just because you taste it whenever I just cooked it for 10, but you cooked it for 100 or so, it's, you know what I mean? That kind of thing is don't compare yourself. Everybody has a different style as well. And so, I like pulled pork, Carolina style, while somebody else might like pulled pork, Texas style. And so there's tons of different styles out there. And so don't be afraid to just be yourself with what you're doing and everything. And so if people don't like it, they won't buy it. But there is somebody out there that's also going to like it. And so you just have to go for it.
Austin, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show today and for sharing your knowledge and experiences with all of us. If anyone wants to follow along with you or see what you got cooking, where's the best place to do so?
Yeah. I'm an online pastor, so Facebook is king for me. So if you can find me on Facebook, it's just Austin Berry, and I'm in Maysville, Kentucky. You can also email me at austindberry@gmail.com, and that's probably the best way to reach out to me.
I want to thank my friend Austin Berry for taking the time to answer my questions about starting a barbecue catering business. Do you have a unique side hustle? I'd love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments. If you're interested in more ways to generate some extra income, check out the previous episode of Practical Hustles on starting a calligraphy business by clicking right here. And for more great content just like this, click right here to subscribe to Practical Personal Finance. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Shear, and I'll see you next time.